So this is Power BI. So we're looking at July financial year 20, just July, okay? So here, if we look at Peter Parker, who's one of the partners, he has billed 105 grand for the month, okay? So if we drill down into Peter Parker and we have a look at one of his clients, Microsoft, he's billed Microsoft, if I just highlight him, he's billed Microsoft for this job, he's billed 11,700 for the month. And there's 85 hours of chargeable time for the month. But it's not a monthly job. It's actually like if you can see for that job, there's actually 125 hours because there was time in June for that job as well. So really, that chargeable hour monthly average charge out rate is way too high. It's not reflective. It really, the true reflection is $93, which is for that job is not so good. It's quite underperforming. But we would be interested in that on a monthly basis. If this job was a monthly bill, we would be interested in that rate. So the problem is that we can't get a segmentation between which jobs are monthly billed and which aren't. Using job categories could possibly work. It's not very scalable though, because anyone can create job categories naming with a naming convention, whatever they want. So I can't really template that in Power BI. Well, as I go back to if you open and close the jobs, even if they're monthly or whatever, it actually works across the board, whether it's Practice Ignition or they're just using Workflow Max by themselves. All of a sudden, we can just track the performance on a month. You mentioned that you want to look at it annually if a heap of the chunk of your work, like the compliance work, was done at one section of the year, then it's actually a big write-off when really it's spread. But I think that's actually interesting to look at that on a monthly basis. Because if you do a 12 grand engagement with a client and you charge them 1 grand a month, but 10 of that 12 was actually just compliance in September, well, then you're carrying that WIP for the whole financial year. That's not like a great outcome to do it that way. You carry 10 grand of WIP and slowly pay it off across the financial year. I don't think that's a good outcome. And by doing it where you open and close the job, the accountant can see that that's happening and they get this big write-off at the start of the financial year, but then slowly creep it back. Well, you can look at it on an annual and a month and say, ooh, on a cash flow basis, that's a disaster. Anyway, I think this is like a really interesting area because monthly billing is becoming more popular. So we're still going to have the old method of jobs as well and the new method of monthly billing. So tracking that and trying to get a true reflection of how a firm's going, I think is an interesting place to look. Cheers.